I've never been able to do that. Good morning, everyone. Let's start gathering in here now. Bringing the pre-service talk down a bit. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living in the heart of Las Cruces. The 1st of October. It's cooling down, right? I'm Sarah Benson, and this is my husband, Doug, and we're going to start you off with a couple of songs. If you'd like to stand, please do.
Yes, I am here to love. Yes, I am here to serve. Yes, I am here to be the love of God. Yes, I am here to love. Yes, I am here to serve. Yes, I am here to be the love of God, my God. And I know forevermore that I am loved. Yes, I know forevermore that I am loved. Yes, I am here to learn. Yes, I am here to live. Yes, I am here to be the love of God. Yes, I am here to learn. Yes, I am here to live. Yes, I am here to be the love of God, my God. And I know forevermore that I am loved. Yes, I know forevermore that I am loved. Yes, I am here to love. Yes, I am here to serve. Yes, I am here to be the love of God, my God, of God, my God, of God, my God. Grateful for the morning, grateful for the sunlight on my face, grateful for the feeling, grateful for the knowing, grateful for the love that's in this place, grateful for believing that God is all there is, that God is all there is. Grateful for the morning, grateful for the sunlight on my face, grateful for the feeling, grateful for the knowing, grateful for the love that's in this place, grateful for believing that God is all there is, that God is all there is, God is all there is.
Good morning, beautiful ones. Welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living in the heart of Las Cruces, where our vision is a world in loving partnership for the good of all. I'm Judy Hunt, your practitioner today. You look great. I guess it takes one to know one. Welcome to those visiting for the first time. We're glad to see you. And there's a great packet of information, bookstore coupon, and you can get on our mailing list. So thank you for being here. And thanks to all those who have signed up to help with setup, sales, and teardown for the Southern New Mexico Pride Festival, which is next Saturday. We set up at 2, and the event starts at 4, with the parade, and then the other events start at 5. And we'll need help tearing down around 9:30. It's officially over at 10, but stop in and visit. It'll be a fun time. Our board meeting will be next Sunday after the service. And tomorrow at the Alameda House, we will celebrate the life of Virginia Brilliant, who blessed us with her presence until she was 103. Gather there from 4:30 to 6 and help her family honor her. It'll be special. And our October potluck will be the week after that. That's the 15th. And we'll include our first CSL in the heart of Las Cruces town hall meeting. We stole that idea from Unity. It says gratefully borrowed. That's probably more appropriate. These town hall meetings will be quarterly ways for you to gather and hear from your board. So get to a free meal and get to hear about what's going on. So it's good. Our next treasure sale will be October 28. So please try holding on to your stuff until next Sunday after the service or officially on Monday, October 9. It gets pretty crowded in here when the stuff starts rolling in, so thank you. And prior to the treasure sale, we have some silent auction items now. So they're out in the social hall, and the highest bidder on the day of the sale win the item. So that's how that looks. And Deb Taylor Russell has volunteered to coordinate a craft and bake sidewalk sale on Saturday, November 18. So we'll be gratefully receiving crafts. Don't start baking now, let's wait a little closer to the time. But if you make stuff, and I was even thinking, I bet I have nice crafts at home that I'm not in love with anymore, so maybe I'll put those in the sale. I think that'll work. So here in the Center for Spiritual Living, we believe in the power of prayer. We call it spiritual mind treatment or affirmative prayer. Doesn't matter what you call it, we do a lot of it. There are prayer requests on the back of each chair, so please, if there's anything in your family, in your life, anything that's concerning you, fill that out, and we will pray with you on Tuesdays. It's a nice community of ministers and practitioners from the 4 New Thought Centers here in Las Cruces. Also, and you put them in it's a God box or the offering plate. So, and I'll pick them up and see that they get to the right place. And also there's a prayer request on the website. If you are technically inclined, we're there too. And after service, we will be available for prayer as well. And also feel free to fill out the gratitude cards. We love hearing how Spirit is working in your life. We know it does. That's why we do all the praying. It's not hard. So now it is time for song, silence, and prayer.
Take a breath, close your eyes, go within, deep inside. gift is always there to find. Open up, say a prayer, feel the peace that's waiting there, and spirit is never far behind. Take a breath, close your eyes, go within, deep inside. The gift is always there to find. Open up, say a prayer, feel the peace that's waiting there, and spirit is never far behind. Take a breath, close your eyes, go inside. Take a breath, close your eyes, go inside. Take a breath, close your eyes, go inside.
And here inside ourselves, inside this building, we find the peace, the guidance, the wisdom, the deep knowing that is spirit. And we surrender all of our worries to that security and safety right now. We know we are fully supported in the flow of spirit in our lives. I release this prayer knowing it is done, it is felt, and so it is. Our theme this month, new one, because we're October now, is paradox. So we hear from Andrew Harvey, a British author and religious scholar. All major mystical traditions have recognized that there is a paradox at the heart of the journey of return to origin. Put simply, this is that we are already what we seek, and that what we are looking for on the path with such an intensity of striving and passion and discipline is already within and around us at all moments. The journey and all its different ordeals are all emanations of the one spirit that is manifesting everything in all dimensions. Every rung of the ladder we climb toward final awareness is made of the divine stuff of awareness itself. Divine consciousness is at once creating and manifesting all things, and acting in and as all things in various states of self-disguise throughout all the different levels and dimensions of the universe. Love that. And then from Albert Einstein, the closer we get to truth, the more it looks like a paradox. Kind of hold on and ride, huh? And from Ernest Holmes, Living Without Fear. The riddle of the universe is a paradox. The question is its own answer. For the mind that asks the question is also the mind that answers it. And with a nod to Edie, who used to bring us humor every Sunday, I've got a few jokes. So one guy comes up to another guy, says, "I'm very interested in joining your voter apathy party." Well, with that kind of attitude, you'll never get in. Oh, forget it then. Okay, you're in. And we'll end with, two doctors walk into a restaurant for dinner, but the waiter didn't know what to do with a pair of docs. Wah, wah. Thank you.
Okay. If this life is one act, why do we put all these traps? We put them right in our past when we just want to be free. I will not waste my time making up all types of ways to worry about all the things that will not happen to me. So I just let go of what I know I don't know, and I know I only do this by living in the moment, living my life easy and breezy, with peace in my mind, with peace in my heart, with peace in my soul. Wherever I'm going, I'm already home. I'm living in the moment. I'm letting myself off the hook for things I've done. I let my past go past, and now I'm having more fun. I'm letting go of the thoughts that do not make me strong, and I believe this way can be the same for everyone. So I just let go. I know sleep, I know you'll be the one to live in the moment, to live my life easy and breezy, with peace in my mind, with peace in my heart, with peace in my soul. Wherever I'm going, I'm already home. I can't walk through life facing backwards. I have tried more than once to just make sure, and I was denied the future I'd been searching for. So I spun around and I searched no more. By living in the moment, by living my life easy and breezy, with peace in my mind, with peace in my heart, with peace in my soul. Wherever I'm going, I'm already home. I'm living in the moment, I'm living my life, just taking it easy, with peace in my mind. Got peace in my heart, got peace in my soul. Wherever I'm going, I'm already home. I'm living in the moment, I'm living my life easy and breezy, with peace in my mind, with peace in my heart, with peace in my soul. Wherever I'm going, I'm already home. I'm living in the moment.
Thank you, Sergio. That was Sergio Chavez. Thank you so much for bringing us that message already. That was absolutely perfect. Thank you. And it got us dancing a little bit, moving. That was great. I just want to get everything. There we go. Okay, well, good morning, everybody. Good morning. I'm Reverend Bonnie, the community spiritual leader here at the center. And I just want to say, rabbit, rabbit, rabbit. Oh, so like what? Hey, it's the first day of the month. It's the first day of October. And in my family, we always say rabbit, rabbit, rabbit because it brings us good luck. Whoever gets to say it first. Well, what's interesting is, do we really even believe in luck? I know Ernest Holmes said that there are no miracles when we actually understand how spirit works. He said, it is only a miracle as everything else in life is a miracle. And I think the same thing is true of luck. But this month, as it's already been mentioned, we're talking about playing with paradox. So rabbit, 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 just in case it brings us luck. So what does it mean then to play with paradox? Well, I'm not the only one that was like, where did this topic come from? Because I'm going with some of the topics that Home Office puts together for us each year now. I think this is the third year we've been doing this. And I happened to run into Randy Granger at the Seattle airport on my way home. We were both headed for El Paso together. It was perfect. They were lost. I was lost. We found the gate together. And we finally got settled. He said, well, since I've got you here, what's with the topic this month? Because he's speaking next Sunday. So we sat there and chatted about it a bit. And usually when I have a topic to chew on, I do it privately. I do it during my morning time when I'm quiet, and I usually journal about it. This month, I have been talking to everybody I could about this topic, going, what do you think? What do you think? So you're going to get a combination of what's been going on in my head mixed with what other people have shared with me, and we'll see what Randy comes up with for next week. But I have been talking to Kristen, who's been staying at my house. I talked to Shauna. I came up with all these different ideas to think about how do we play with paradox. Because not only do I get to talk to you today, but I have 2 more Sundays to address this topic. There's 5 Sundays this month, and I'm doing the 3rd and the 5th. So we're going to stretch this playing with paradox out and see where it takes us. So to begin with, let's look at what paradox itself actually means. That's what some people say, well, what do you mean by a paradox? A seemingly absurd or self-contradictory statement or proposition that when investigated or explained may prove to be founded or true. Did you get that? So the self-contradicting piece is what makes it a paradox. It seems like this and this, they're 2 different things, but they are put together in some way. Another piece of the definition, a situation, a person, or a thing that combines contradictory features or qualities. And so we look at those 2 things and go, but we're saying they're together or they're one. The way I saw it, to simplify that meaning, was that there's 2 different ideas that appear to be opposite or contradictory, but they're somehow on a continuum. And somewhere in the middle of that continuum, we see the both and, that place that I've been talking about a lot over the last couple years. And it's how we see both of those ideas coming together as part of the whole. So we see them as maybe contradictory when in actuality they're part of this whole concept that we have. So the more I played with this and the more I talked about it with people, I started to see that we also have a lot of what I would call paradoxes in our teaching itself. So I'm going to give you a few examples. One must give in order to receive. Have we heard that? Less is more. In order to manifest what we want, we need a clear mental equivalent. We need to see it in order to believe it, and let go and let God. Don't we say both things? So when I was talking to a friend, she shared with me that there are 4 paradoxes in Alcoholics Anonymous, and they're very similar to what we teach. We surrender to win or to gain. We give away in order to keep. We suffer to get well, and we die to live. And I took that to mean we die to the old in order to live in the new. So you got enough to chew on there? Here's another one. We work together whether we work together or apart. That was Robert Frost. Think about that. And the greatest awakening appears as insanity. And I got that idea from Emerson. So are you ready to play with paradox? Join us this month. Well, I want to begin by recapping what happened here last week. If you were here, it was fabulous. I got to see it on YouTube. Some of you watched it on YouTube. If you haven't seen it, I encourage you to go back. Teresa had a panel of people up here that spoke from Shirley from Wellspring, Jennifer Burke, thank you, from right here at CSL, and Kim from Unity. And they each were speaking to love and how love was speaking out loud in their lives. And Kim referred to us as truth communities, and I often say we're part of the new thought communities. But basically, the idea is that we're all one, and yet here were three representations or ways of expressing in the world, and they were talking about their communities as well as how they had come to be a part of this teaching. So two locations, 3 different times of meeting and gathering, and 3 different organizations, all under this umbrella of one. And so I see that as one of the paradoxes in our teaching as well. I call it the paradox of oneness. Because we have these different expressions, and we talk about how love moves through each one of us, and yet we also know that we're all one. As Ernest Holmes says, unity, not uniformity. And so this leads me to another paradoxical concept in our teaching. We say, in God, all things are possible. And Ernest Holmes said on page 44 in the Science of Mind text, the universal mind contains all knowledge. It is the potential ultimate of all things. To it, all things are possible. And he also said, whoa, on page 109, this is a little wordy, but I have a lot of points in here, so listen to this carefully. A freedom under compulsion would amount to the worst kind of bondage. The Bible says, if there had been any law whereby this freedom could be compelled, then verily by the law would that freedom have been given. He interprets that to be, if there had been a way by which the divine creative principle could have compelled us to suddenly appear on the scene of experience, fully orbed with all of our freedom, and still be an individual, then verily by the law would this have been done. But Ernest Holmes says, but even God could not do this. So in God, all things are possible, but even God could not do this. The only way God can evolve a spontaneous individual, or us in freedom, is to let us alone and allow us to awaken to ourselves. And then he says, behold, I stand at the door and knock. So we must be created with the possibility of limitless freedom and be let alone to discover ourselves. On the road to self-discovery, we must be subject to the law of reality, capital L and R, and if in ignorance we violate this law, we must thereby suffer. This is not, however, because the divine decrees or ordains suffering, but simply because it is the necessity of the case. So he's basically saying it's the consequence of going against the law or not living within that law. And when he's saying law, he's talking about like natural laws, like the law of gravity. So we jump off the roof, we're going to have the consequence. We're going to suffer because gravity is going to pull us to the ground. So spiritual laws work in the same way in his mind. So he's saying then, it's not because suffering is required, it's because that's the result of shifting outside of law. Suffering may be salutary in that it leads us to a place where we learn that it is unnecessary. There's another paradox. We shall cease to suffer as we more and more comply with the laws of the universe. All suffering is a result of some infringement of these laws. So when they say we suffer to win, that's another way of saying that. He's explaining it in some ways there. So I wanted to note here, again, we say in God all things are possible, and yet we're saying we can't have freedom of choice. We can't be free to express as individuals and be puppets at the same time. Even God couldn't make us that way. And that suffering isn't intended as a way to be, but if we suffer, the paradox is we learn through that we don't necessarily have to do that anymore. We shift how we live. Okay, yeah, well, I'm just getting started, Miss Pat. So what we're referring to, she said that was enough to think about, Pat, if you couldn't hear it on the Zoom. Yeah, she's done. So to be free, God essentially has made us as an individualized expression of itself and left us alone to discover ourselves. So what is ourself? What and who are we? Spirit. We are God expressing. So here's more of Ernest Holmes. You're going to get a lot of him on the front end here because I think he said a lot of things quite well. All right. If we realize that God is triune and that we, humans, are a spiritual likeness of God, we shall see that the whole scheme of life and the whole nature of the divine being is reenacted through us, through humankind. This, of course, does not mean that we are God. It means that in his small world of individual expression, our nature is identical with God's. This is what Jesus meant when he said, as the Father hath life within himself, so hath he given it to the Son to have life within himself. This refers to inherent life, real life. That is the only life that God could have. We must expect to find in mankind, therefore, the same inherent attributes that we find in the universe from which we spring. A single drop of water is not the whole ocean, but it does contain within itself the same qualities and attributes, right? So you see in the picture there? Further on page 410, he says, which means that the human is really divine, but will ever evolve into newer and better states of conscious being. So, what I'm gathering from that is we are God expressing, and we're left alone to discover that, which is like when I'm seeking to go home, I'm already home, just like the song said, right? So we're left alone to finally discover that what we're seeking for, we already are. We're already that expressing in the world. And we're left alone also to have freedom, to choose, to decide how it is we're going to have this experience. So what are we left alone to do? To grapple with more paradoxes. So we say it's either God's will or our will. I think we often say it's either or. So are we going to do God's will or our will? But, and more Ernest Holmes, because like I said, he's got it down here. This is from page 194 to 195. One of the most important things for us to remember is that we are always causing something to be created for us, and that whatever cause we have set in motion must produce some kind of an effect. Are we producing the effects we would like to experience? The creative process will go on willy-nilly, and those are his words. Yeah. We cannot beat nature at its own game because we are some part of the game she is playing. You got that? Okay. Shall the result in our lives be comedy or a tragedy? We are given the will to decide the issue. We should carefully consider whether we're willing to experience the results of our thoughts. There should never be any hurt in them for ourselves or for anyone else. We may be sure that if there's hurt for others, there must also be hurt for ourselves. There's the oneness thing coming up again. As we sow, so we must reap. But there's no real limitation, for the creative life wishes us to have all that we can use. If we keep our thought fixed upon the idea that this energy, which is also intelligence, is now taking the form of some desire in our lives, then it will begin to take this form. If we change the desire, then it will change the form. Therefore, there must be a definite purpose in our imagination. We are so one with the whole that what is true of it is also true of us. We are one with unmanifest substance whose business it is to forever take form, and we are one with the law which gives it form. The entire order is one of spontaneous being and spontaneous manifestation. The law follows the word just as the word follows the desire. I want you to hear that. The desire arises from the necessity of the universe to become self-expressed. The law follows the word follows the desire. The word gives form to substance, and the principle of subjective law produces the manifestation. There is no effort in the process, however. Whew, you got more to chew on there, Pat. So what all is that saying? What that was saying to me, I wanted to look at this idea of desire. Because we often, again, in terms of that paradox, some of us think our desires are sinful or bad. And yet what he's saying there is that those desires that move through us are God wanting to express in the world. It's the universe wanting to have self-expression, and that the law follows the word that follows our desire. So we have the desire, then we put the word out there, we put the prayer out there, we put the treatment out there, and then the manifestation happens. So what do we usually desire? Usually we're desiring something new, right? We want something different from what we have. Or what we perceive we don't have, we might want. Even if we want more of the same, we can't have the same and have it stay there. Everything's going to move and shift and change. So if we want more of that, it's still evolving. It's still moving. We're still looking at something new. So here's another paradox, one that I certainly live with, because many of us say, I don't like change. Change is a challenge, right? I'm too old to change. Especially now with all of this new technology, I'm like, I don't want to learn what Twitter is or Instagram. I just can't do more of this. I'm too old to change. And yet, what's desire but change? And don't I still have desires? Don't we all still have desires? I think we want peace of mind when life is chaotic. That's a desire. That's change. We want health when we're not feeling healthy. We want a relationship when we're lonely. And we want freedom of a single life when we have to negotiate with our partner, significant others, or friends. We always have desires that are showing up. And those desires mean something new, which means change. So there's that paradox again. The ultimate paradox along this line of thinking is the only thing that never changes is that everything changes. Or sometimes they say the only thing that never changes is change itself. So the irony is we may think and say we're too old for change, but change is going to happen whether we think about it or not. This is one of those places where our thinking is not going to make it so. We can't stop change from happening. It's going to continue. It's going to be part of the evolutionary process. And so we might get into a situation where we think, I don't have a choice. I can't change this. But that's never true. Because at every place along that spectrum of change, there are choice points. We are always at choice. When I was talking with Shauna about this, she said, I think about it like a river. So there's a raging river and you're trying to swim across. You get halfway across and you think, I'm stuck. There's nothing I can do. She said, but that's not true. You can turn around and try and swim back. You can try and flow with the river or let yourself drown, or you can try and swim to the other side. She said, you're always a choice, but we might not like what those choices look like. And I said, well, I have often thought about it. What I was picturing this week was a storm, all those hurricanes that are happening. And I pictured the eye of the storm, that place where they say there's a calm center. And we can either ride and move inward, go to that center, that place where it's calm and peaceful, or we can be out there on the winds and the drama and even potential destruction out there on the edges. And she said, yeah, but maybe we don't want to be in the eye of the storm because that's still going to be moving us somewhere. I said, that's my point exactly. Because change is always going to be happening. We're always going to be moving. So where do you want to ride it out? Do you want to be at the eye, or do you want to be out there with all the drama and the wind and the fun ride, I guess, but what is it that you really want? How do you want? That's where the choice point is. How do you want to ride out the storm? Petra Wildress has an article in this month's Science of Mind, and I hope you realize that your Science of Mind from last month, you flip it over for this month, and you start from the other side. And in here, her article is Contemplate, Play with, and Compare the Paradox. And she's talking about how in paradox you often have these two sides. Like I was saying, you've got this thing here and this thing here. And she said, obviously, anything taken too far to the extreme, to one side or the other, becomes problematic, turning into fanaticism, abuse, and ignorance, immediately inviting the opposite extreme. So if you think about a balance scales and you start weighing this, what's going to rise? The opposite extreme, and you start here and then this. So what happens when we're out on those fringes is sometimes the stuff that we don't necessarily like, but it is still all connected, right? So that's what I was seeing, were these scales, that pivot point in the middle, the either or here, the right or wrong, but as we move in toward that pivot point is where we find the both and, where we find that place that starts to balance. There's still some movement there, but there's some balance. I also pictured the yin-yang symbol. You know what I'm talking about? So there's that middle line there where yin and yang touch. There's that pivot point. And so that's the place where these apparent contradictions come together. That's the place where we can see the connection on that spectrum of this and this. And that's the place where we're at choice. We can choose to go this direction, or to stay right there in the middle and work out that balance. There's still movement. You think about when people are trying to stay balanced, they're still often moving, but you're right there on that pivot point. And that's where you can find silence and stillness amid the chaos, and where you can handle, I think, the change a little better when you're in there working with the both and. I'm going to grab this. So I'll need that later. So after discussing, in fact, I need it right now, with Kristen, she shared with me that she gets these morning meditations from Richard Rohr, and he had one on liminal space that she thought fit really well with what we were talking about in terms of paradox. So I looked up liminal space because I see the question on some of your faces as well. Liminal space is the uncertain transition between where you've been and where you're going, physically, emotionally, or metaphorically. He said, I keep thinking metaphysically, but it's that place between where you've been, like the song again, it was so perfect. Turning around and looking back, or are we going to turn around and look forward? And so this is what Richard Rohr said about liminal space. To get out of this repetitive cycle, we have to allow ourselves to be drawn into the sacred space, into liminality. That's spelled L-I-M-I-N, liminality. All transformation takes place here. Further on, he says, it's the realm where God can best get at us because our false certitudes, so those things that we believe are true but are not necessarily true, that's where our false certitudes are finally out of the way. This is the sacred space where the old world is able to fall apart and the bigger world is revealed. So doesn't that sound like we surrender to gain, we die to live? That same idea, that same paradox. Further on, he said, we avoid other times of liminality in our lives through denial, escaping with the help of alcohol, sugar, and drugs to avoid truly experiencing the opportunities of liminal space. Yet the irony is that liminal space doesn't have to be difficult. While it can be challenging, it can also be extremely rewarding. I discover there is another center with a capital C. So I saw the eye of the storm, another center, and it's not me. He said, when we embrace liminality, we choose hope over sleepwalking, denial, and despair. So in that space, when we bring ourselves back to that pivot point, we're choosing to be at that transitional place And I would say that's where God can get through us. He said God can get at us, God can get through us when we move to that place. Well, it sounds maybe somewhat confusing. Sounds like serious business to me. And as I quoted Randy Brown a couple weeks back, simple but not easy. So why would we want to play with this? Why would we want to play with all these paradoxes that show up? Well, again, from Petra, I love what she said at the beginning of her article here. Along the path of awakening, I consistently tripped over paradox. They seem to be everywhere in spiritual teachings, personal growth workshops, relationships, and organizational development practices. How very annoying. I resisted, argued, complained, and finally threw up my mental hands in acquiescence. I guess I'd better learn how to play with paradox. Because when we play, we bring lightness. We bring joy. We allow ourselves to have fun. In fact, Will was saying we're going to do another play workshop with Will here pretty soon. We're going to plan another one of those. Because play allows us to bring into our life that kind of stuff that we enjoy. So there's another paradox. The seriousness of life can be fun. It can be playful. Explain that? Think about it. That's what I've just been talking about. I pictured a Segway. Have you seen the Segways where you have to balance and then you can move forward, but you're kind of balancing, you're rocking, so you're having the movement and it'll carry you forward. And I picture that like being on that pivotal point, that place where life presents us with paradox. And as we move to the middle, to that place where we can bring in the both and, we can allow ourselves to balance and be playful, to bring in the joy. So I encourage you this month, as much as you can, talk about it with each other, figure out what this means, and play with all those paradoxes that show up in your life. And hopefully you'll have fun. And so it is. All right, Pat's exhausted. She's over it. So would the practitioners please surround this room with their playful, prayerful selves. There's more to come. That's just week one. And let's just go within to that heart space, that center, that core, where we find balance, where we can see ourselves in the calm, the eye of the storm. And just allow ourselves to breathe into that space. And anything that's felt like drama and high winds in our lives, just find your way back to that center. Figure out what's on the other end. And how do we bring balance? How do we focus at the calm, that liminal space? God's in all of it, folks. And we choose where we want to carry on the ride. How we want to be, where we want to settle in, what we want to manifest and form in our lives, and what it feels like to just release and let the truth of who we are flow through us and carry us forward. And so as we play with this concept of paradox, I give thanks for the joy and fun, for the people who I've gotten to share this with, and for everyone in this room who now gets to also play with paradox this month. I know that there's truth in all of what has been spoken. And we open our hearts and minds to see the greater truth, the bigger picture, the whole balancing act, and how it is that we are allowing God to express through us. And so in gratitude and excitement and joy and fun, we just release these words at this time as we say together, and so it is. Thank you. Thank you, practitioners.
Yeah, so I kind of had a bit of a what the heck when I saw the topic for this month too. I mean, how many songs do you know? Like, I woke up this morning, brand new day. There was Paradox knocking at my door, calling me out to play. Yeah, so no, didn't come up with any ideas right away. But so I've been thinking about paradoxes in my life because I'm also, it's been a big thing for me. Just like, spirituality seems to be like, go this way, do this, do that, and do the opposite. So I'm going to do a song today called Where the Ocean Says to Go. It's by Daniel Namad. And this one is are we supposed to decide what we want and put our intention and our self-will and all of that into it, or surrender? And this one comes down on the side of surrender. And I think there's a good both and in this subject. But anyway, at this point in my life, sometimes my plans and my thinking that I know what's good for me have not worked out so very well. So I kind of like this song. But if you don't, that's great too.
Let it go.
Yeah.
So much pushing and pulling, so much fighting and straining, so much laboring against waves and wind. I am tired, my arms are weary, my back is aching, my eyes are bleary. Think I'm finally ready to give in. I have struggled, I have cried, I have screamed inside about the kind of life I've tried to lead. Well, right now I think it's time, for the very first time, to lay down my body and mind and just be. If I stop steering my boat, does it sink? Oh no, the current carries it along just so. If I stop steering my life, I'm gonna be alright. I'll just go where the ocean says to go. Down the block to the moon, round the world just to my room. I can't say where I'm supposed to end up. I've resisted for so long, as if I could do no wrong, and it's never been quite good enough. It's a funny thing, I guess, a prideful human saying yes without knowing what I'm agreeing to. But there's a simple fact I find, decision's never been mine. All I'll do is what I'm meant to do. If I stop steering my boat, does it sink? Oh no, the current carries it along just so. If I stop steering my life, I'm gonna be alright. I'll just go where the ocean says to go. It's a scary thing for sure to lay down my oars, quit pretending that I've ever been in charge. But it's scarier still to spend my strength and will and never even have a peaceful heart. So here goes the toughest thing. Ironic, don't you think, that it's so hard and so easy all at once? It's not laziness, it's just the deepest kind of trust that I'm okay when all is said and done. Oh, I'm okay when all is said and done. If I stop steering my boat, does it sink? Oh no, the current carries it along just so. If I stop steering my life, it's gonna be alright. I'll just go where the ocean says to go. I'll just go where the ocean says to go. Oh, I'll just go where the ocean says to go.
I'd say that was perfect. Thank you, Sarah. And you know, she finds these songs and learns them so she can sing them for you. Thank you so much. That was absolutely perfect. Yeah. Her ministry is certainly music.
Yeah.
We appreciate it. Wow. So there we have it. All the songs were perfect, and everything is like taking us on a paradoxical, playful adventure this month. So I hope you enjoy. And now we talk about how it is that we support the center, which is your tithes and offerings. We're so grateful to anything and all that you give to us. And 10% of all that comes through the center this month is going to SNAP, the Spay and Neuter Action Program, whose mission it is to prevent the suffering and death of dogs and cats due to overpopulation in Doñana County. Thousands of animals are put down every year in shelters. We can reduce the number of animals destroyed by spaying and neutering our loving companion animals. Together, we make a difference in the welfare of animals. And again, we're all one, right, with all of these creatures and creation around us. So I'm excited to know that 10% of everything that we bring in here is going to support them this month. And that's for anybody who is lower income can use their vouchers to get their animals spayed and neutered. That's what they do, is they give out vouchers to people that can't afford to do it on their own. And I also want to thank our greeters from this morning. Thanks to Bill for getting our greeting team together. Thank you, Jennifer, for being there. And this is our out of our community discussions. It has been determined that that's a fabulous way for all of us, whether we're new or whether we've been here a while, just to have somebody greeting us when they come through the door. And we are still open to having more people join that group because we're all greeters. I hope all of you don't think that just because she has a name tag that says greeter that you don't have to. No, we all greet each other. That's still, we want to be welcoming and open to the folks that show up here. But if you want to be an official greeter, please see Bill. He's sitting in the back there, and let him know and he'll get you on. We're looking to have teams for every Sunday that know that they're here, and that's their joy to welcome the new folks and the folks that they see every week. So thank you again for this outcropping of our intentions as being a more welcoming and open community. And that being said, let's say our blessing together. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God, in me. And we can sing.
I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful, I am so blessed. I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful, I am so blessed, I am so grateful, I am so blessed.
I love the harmony that came out there at the end. That was beautiful. Thank you. Please feel free to welcome each other in the social hall, get those hugs, greet each other, and let's just stand and sing our closing song together.
We're going to do I Release.
I Release, all right.
If anybody wants tambourines, I put some out there.
Who wants a tambourine? We're going to make some noise.
We could use some more noise, yeah. Okay.
There was a time in my life, thought I'd have to do it all for myself. I didn't know the grace of God was sufficient, didn't know the love of God God was at hand. But now I can say, if you are discouraged, struggling just to make it through another day, you've got to let it go. Let it all go. And this is what you have to say. I release and I let go. Let the Spirit run my life. And my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. Oh, I release and I let go. Let the Spirit run my life. And my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for love. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I'll see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. Oh, I'm free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God.
Have a fabulous, playful week.